12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Got Mario Jerez and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. Glad you're hanging out with us. We start working towards the weekend. Luke Johnson in his normal spot talking Saints in 15 minutes. And we'll just flip sidelines 15 minutes after that at 1:30. Michael Rothstein covers the Falcons for ESPN, and he will jump aboard. So Saints, then Falcons. Get you ready for Sunday's action inside the Dome. The Pels are playing well. We'll touch on that. I've got to start off the hour number 2, a little bit of fun I'm going to have. And to make some bold predictions about LSU sports over the next 12 months. We're into the new year. What do I think about LSU sports prospects in 2024? I'll give you some bold predictions there. Chris Blair will jump on at 2:15 in his normal spot. First Matt McMahon show was last night, and certainly Chris was down there in Tampa for the ReliaQuest Bowl. He'll be in College Station on Saturday as LSU opens SEC play on the hardwood. So hang out with us for the next 2 hours. We are going to have some fun here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I've got a grab bag of LSU sports topics here in the open, LSU football topics in the open. We learned today that Major Burns will return to LSU to complete his college eligibility. Burns is a Baton Rouge product. Went out to Georgia, transferred back to LSU, and he has been a mainstay in the secondary for the last couple of seasons. And this is part of what I was talking about in the middle of December when we were discussing LSU's defense. At that point, the 9-3 season was over. The Heisman Trophy winner opted out. Yes, you had a bowl game to play against Wisconsin, but a lot of LSU fans, and certainly those of us that covered the team, had kind of shifted focus to, okay, what does next year kind of look like? And you figured Neighbors would leave, and you figured Thomas was leave, and you knew that Jaden Daniels was out of eligibility, and you're not sure about Logan Diggs or Charles Turner, but you kind of get a sense that the offense is going to be pretty good. And the defense, well, is there going to be a staff change? Is there going to be a staff change? I don't know. Well, now we do. But what I did know in the middle of December was you're not going to have a massive personnel change on defense. I would call it likely that these guys are out on the field against USC on defense. Braden Swinson, Mason Smith, Jacobian Guillory, Sage Ryan, Javian Toviano, Ashton Stamp, Zy Alexander, Greg Penn, Harold Perkins, Whit Weeks, Deshaun Womack. He didn't play a lot, but you get the point. Like, that's a nucleus of this defense, and Major Burns is a part of that. Now, I don't know who's going to be coordinating them, and I don't know who the defensive backs coach is going to be, or if it's going to be a safeties coach or a corners coach. I don't know who the defensive line coach is going to be or who's going to deal with linebackers. That we don't know. But Major Burns coming back furthers the point that, like, a lot of the guys who have been on the field for this LSU defense in 2023 are going to be on the field in 2024. Now, Jordan Gilbert is transferring in from A&M. Good chance to play at safety, sure. Sean Washington, not a freshman, coming in. Figure he's going to be in the mix. I don't know if Dominic McKinley or Gabe Relaford are ready to step in as a freshman. Maybe, maybe not. We were really excited about Deshaun Womack, and we didn't see a lot of him this year. Probably a lot of playing time to be had on that defense, quite frankly. So whoever the coordinator is, they're going to have a lot of the same cast of characters. Now, I will also further this point from yesterday. And this is not my favorite thing to do. I'm not playing Gossip Girl hour here. Like, that's not why I'm here. I don't get into a lot of rumors. I don't do a lot of social media stuff. You don't even really hear me use the term, well, I spoke with someone, and according to my conversations, I do that sometimes when I have something I know. But that's not even twice a month on this show. Honestly, it's not. So this is headed that direction, but I don't have anything concrete. I'm just here reacting to what's very public. This is not private stuff. This is not inside sources stuff. This is not, well, I spoke to someone here or according to a source that I have here. This is very much out in the open. The social media reaction to yesterday's cleaning of house, no bad pun intended, is noteworthy. It really is. Braden Swinson's kicking rocks. Harold Perkins is sending out tweets. LaTerrence Welsh, who's in the transfer portal, jumped in and had a comment. So while I hate acting like I'm behind the scenes, I hate drumming up drama. That is so not what I'm here for. I'm here to talk about what you ought to be calling on ball screen defense, how well this team runs the ball versus that team, and who should start game one of the regional. Like, I'm between the lines a lot of time. That's where I like to live. I don't like to live in drama land. I know that gets clicks and drives people places. It's just not where I want to live. But I can't avoid this. And so while we can all look to the field where I like to live and suggest that was not good enough on defense, you start to ask why. Well, I think there are a lot of reasons, and we went through them yesterday. I think there have been some recruiting misses, some transfer portal misses. I think there's been some poor development. I think the game planning was likely not very good. I think the execution by the players was not very good. I thought the tackling was not very good. The coverage, the pass rush, you can go everywhere with it. But I had not added in the factor that maybe everything fractured on the defensive side of the ball in terms of relationships between coaches and players. And I don't know that, okay? But I'm just looking at social media, man, and these don't appear to be veiled shots. Like, Harold Perkins was playing some chess there with not so much fun when the Rabbits got the gun and all this kind of stuff, but like kicking rocks, celebrating, guys moving on. Dominic McKinley got on the action yesterday. And so I can't help but look at that and be like, this was not good. And I'm not going to go any further on that because for the 13th time, I hate it. But I'm not going to completely avoid it either or dismiss it. So the question is, okay, who's next? And the report surfaced from Brandon Marcello 24/7 yesterday that Blake Baker is very much being pursued, and that makes a lot of sense. Blake Baker spent time here. He's done a pretty good job at Missouri. I like the people that say, well, he gave up 50 against LSU. I'll give him a little bit of a pass. Saban's team didn't really slow LSU down much either. I watched Kirby Smart's defense try to chase around Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow for 4 quarters in Atlanta. It didn't go very well. Sometimes there's just an offense that's that good, and just that's what it is. How about we look at the other 12 games they played? Looked pretty good against Ohio State. So, and again, this is going to go back to the same thing I told you when LSU had a vacancy at head coach. You're not going to tune into this show very often and hear me give you the list of what I'm hearing from. I'm not hearing anything. I gave you one concrete thing in the LSU head coaching search, and is that Billy Napier wanted this job. That's the only thing I knew. Everything else, as I'm doing here, I'll just react to what's being reported. Because if I sit here and try to hypothesize about everybody under the sun, it's a lot of wasted breath. And quite frankly, for the LSU head coaching search, how many times did we mention Brian Kelly before he walked to the podium? Almost none. There was a time where things were pretty wide open over there at Football Ops. You could get a lot of information out. I'm not suggesting it's Fort Knox now, but it's quieter over there. So on this show, for the next probably 2 weeks, I would imagine, as things start to happen, you're just not going to get a lot of, hey, this is what I'm hearing. You're going to get, okay, this was reported. Here's what I think about that. And as far as Blake Baker goes, I'd be happy with that hire. I think Blake Baker did a really good job with the linebackers when he was here for that 1 year. I think he has experience at multiple levels calling a defense and has done so in the SEC the last 2 years. I think he has shown himself to be a very, very solid recruiter who develops great relationships with his players. And if you're looking at that side of the ball right now and don't think that's important, holy cow. It is very important to have great relationships with your players. The names I gave you yesterday, as I alluded to, were what I figured would be the biggest splashes that I knew of out there. And that's Jesse Minter, and that's Jim Leonard. Do I have any inclination if Brian Kelly has called them or if they've answered the phone or there's any conversation between agents or anything? None. Absolutely none. But if Brandon Marcello, who's done a good job of reporting things in the past, tells me that Blake Baker's emerged, that's coming from somewhere. It's either coming from Blake Baker's agent trying to get a raise at Missouri, which is very possible, or there's significant interest. And now that Missouri's season is over and the transfer portal window is closed, there are some conversations. And honestly, I figured once that report came out yesterday that it would be within 3 hours that there was an agreement together, because I feel like it comes together that late in the process. So the fact that it hasn't happened over the 18 hours since that report was made suggests maybe that was posturing by Blake Baker's camp. It's a plausible thing for him to say, hey, LSU's courting me. I've been there before. My wife's from there. That's a more high-profile job. They're coming. Pay up. There are not a ton of leverage spots for defensive coordinators. That's one for Blake Baker. So we'll react to it when it happens. You know all the names that are circling. And while there are some things on Brian Kelly's resume that are questionable, and you can certainly look at the defensive staff hires that he made his first stop or his first time through the ringer here at LSU. He's done a great job of surrounding himself with really, really good coaches over his time as a head coach. And I would anticipate that over the next 2 weeks, he'll fill out the staff with a lot of guys who are very, very accomplished. We'll see. Blake Baker would be just fine with me. So that's your grab bag of LSU sports, from Major Burns returning to Blake Baker to tweets and Instagram posts that suggest different things. A lot going on, even though the season is over there with LSU football. Let's transition to Sunday. The Saints and Falcons will play in the Dome. Saints must win it. Falcons organization in limbo. 15 minutes from right now, we'll talk to Michael Rothstein about the Falcons. But when we come back after this timeout, Luke Johnson on the Black and Gold.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. LSU's got a whole bunch of football staff positions open. We'll have the latest, and Mike Triplett joins us to talk Saints. 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Rouse's official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Saints were a part of a good football weekend in Tampa for South Louisiana. Saints took care of the Bucks, and then LSU took care of business against Wisconsin. Luke Johnson was there for the former of those two, and he joins us now on the Gems Firearms Hotline. Luke, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I'm kind of wishing I would have stayed there for the LSU game, too.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, you would have had your pick of seats anywhere you wanted to be, but the Tigers got it done. Where would you put that performance from the Saints on Sunday against the performance against maybe New England on the road, Indianapolis on the road? I think those are probably their best performances. Where does this one rank?
Yeah, it's right at the top for me. I mean, just considering the stakes, considering that Tampa's really probably the best team they've beat. Yeah, I mean, Indy was just like maybe 2 games into the Gardner Minshew thing there. Yeah, I just think offensively, defensively, best game of the season. Look, they would have held Tampa to 3 and out on their first 5 drives, if not for a couple ticky-tack penalties. Yeah, their offense got going early for felt like the first time all year. And yeah, the fourth quarter wasn't great, obviously, but yeah, I just think start to finish, that was their best by my measure.
What did you like the most about it?
I kind of just alluded to, I really like that they got off to a fast start. I mean, I feel like half of this season we've just been talking about how this team can't get anything going offensively until late, and they get behind and they're having to dig out of these early deficits. For them to go out and score a touchdown on the opening drive, which, by the way, for the first time this season, they were able to do that, and really just set the tone in that game, in a really, really important game. I mean, that was the most impressive part to me. And it's one game. If they go out this week against Atlanta and they go down in a 14-0 hole by halftime, it'll be like, all right, same old Saints. But it was really encouraging to see that they could actually do that. Like, they could play their style of football. They were physical in that game. They were getting after Baker Mayfield, even if it didn't result in a bunch of sacks. I mean, they were making life difficult on him in the pocket. they were controlling the line of scrimmage. I just think that's like the style of football they want to play. It's just the first time we've been able to really see him play it this year.
Derek Carr, the word I've used is it's efficient, because it's not like he's been prolific in terms of the statistics, but they've been in the right play and they've moved the ball pretty well. What's been the difference from him in December as opposed to September, October?
Well, I think one is he's healthy,
Yeah.
or he's healthier than he was. I don't think his shoulder is bothering him nearly as much. I think the protection's been really good too, which those two things probably go hand in hand. But he only took one sack this last week, and really it was when he was trying to throw the ball away. He just stepped out of bounds before he could get rid of it. So he didn't get hit a lot, and I think he's operating much more like the offense has much better tempo and rhythm in the last couple of weeks. I think one of the things that was really frustrating about watching him early in the season is there were so many plays in the game where he was just like waiting for something to come open and waiting for something to come open. And, he played his own part in their pass protection struggles. But I think he's been really decisive with the football lately. And I think that's why we're seeing the offense kind of take a little bit of a step forward, and why we're seeing his numbers and his efficiency numbers really increase.
Two DMPs from pretty important Saints offensive weapons. Juwan Johnson and Alvin Kamara did not practice yesterday. Any update on those two guys for this weekend?
Alvin, I don't think Alvin's going to play. It's really hard for literally any player to come back from a sprained ankle in 1 week. Anybody who's ever sprained an ankle knows it's not, it's something that stays with you for a little bit. But it's especially hard for a running back, and especially one like Alvin. He relies on so much change of direction. I'd be really, really surprised if he goes. But Juwan Johnson, I think I would expect to be out there, which is good because he finally did the thing that we were all expecting him to do at the beginning of the season. We all thought that he would have a lot more games like the one he had against Tampa. I think he'll be good to go. I think he'll be out there.
Kendre Miller with another ankle, a limited participant. I know that obviously with Kamara likely being out, they'd like to have him. How does the running back rotation look one way or another?
Yeah, I think Kendre is going to play. I just don't know how much they're going to count on him. I would expect like a lot of Jamal Williams, and I would expect a ton of Taysom Hill too. The guy has just done nothing but like eviscerate Atlanta throughout his career, and he probably wants a little retribution after that goal line fumble against them last time out. So I would kind of that would be the move in just if I were to guess would be 15 to 20 carries for Jamal Williams if everything's going right, and then another 8 to 12 for Taysom Hill, and kind of get Kendre in there as a little bit of a change of pace. I think when Kendre Miller has been at his best this year, he's actually been as a receiver. He's had a couple explosive plays as a pass catcher on screens or whatever it is. I think that might be more of his role, but I don't think we're going to see a heavy workload for him.
Yeah, you kind of stole my next question there, but we'll kind of expound on that. It's like, what do we know about Kendre Miller, the NFL player? It just seems like he's just continued to come back and then immediately head right back to the sideline.
Yeah, it's been a really disappointing, frustrating rookie year for him. I talked to him yesterday, and it's really just been the year of 2023, right? Like the first day of that year, he suffers a knee injury in TCU's playoff game.
Yeah.
And it knocked him out for most of the offseason. And then he gets in, he pulls his hamstring, and that knocks him out for a couple of weeks. And then he was dealing with the ankle. And we haven't really gotten to see what he can do. But in our limited glimpses of him when he's actually healthy, he's a really explosive player. It hasn't mattered much when he's been on the field because they've had their significant problems in run blocking. You've seen that kind of across the board. I don't think Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller are a group who's going to average like 3.2 yards a carry for a lot of teams. They just had a lot of problems blocking up front this year. But I think if he ever got to a point where he's playing with an offensive line that's opening some holes, I think we could see him be a player who busts long runs. We saw the explosiveness. It's just we just haven't seen it in games, which is really unfortunate for him.
We know in this market like how incestuous the SEC is in terms of coaching trees and assistants, and because geography is so important in college football with recruiting. It's not that important in the NFL. However, the Saints and Falcons share so many different links in terms of personnel and coaches and assistants and all of that, especially on Dennis Allen's side of the football. Is that a storyline? Was it a few weeks ago when the Saints in Atlanta played, and is it this time around in terms of they just know each other extremely well?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to make it a storyline last time, but Dennis Allen pretty much shot everything down. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like that first matchup, it seemed like every time the Saints played somebody, it was like right after the Falcons played somebody. So it's almost like they got this like scouting heads up where they're like, oh, this is what this team does against our scheme.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Nielsen's over there. I mean, obviously it didn't really help them out a lot early in the season, but yeah, I mean, there's obviously some similarities there. Like the Falcons, obviously they're running Ryan Nielsen's scheme, which is very similar to what Dennis Allen ran. The personnel's very similar. They've got former Saints players on that defense. But, it is a little bit different. I mean, they got a playmaker back there in Jesse Bates who, allows them to do some different things than the Saints do. So, part of it is a little advantageous, I think, from the Saints side. And part of it, the Falcons are like, okay, we know what they like to run in these specific situations. I think it ends up all coming out in the wash in the end. If the Falcons are smart, they'll be like, oh, hey, we've run the ball for 200 plus yards against these guys like 3 games in a row. Like it's not, you don't need Ryan Nielsen there to be like, yeah, we need to run the ball against these guys. So I think it ends up just being not much at all.
Yeah, look, we know that this has been a disappointing season for the Saints based on the personnel and the schedule that was in front of them. My contention earlier in the week was that I don't believe that 3 hours is going to dictate the future of the organization one way or another. I'll ask it to you, like, how important is this game for the Saints, for Dennis Allen, for the future immediately of this team and franchise?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't think the outcome of one game is going to be like, okay, well, we need to tear it all down and start over. All that being said, though, I think it is really important for Dennis Allen to have a winning season. He's never had one of those. I think this is a locker room that's full of a bunch of veteran players, who, I mean, they take pride in what they do. And I think this is an important game in that regard. But I think if they lose this game and miss the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be like, well, you guys had it all in your hands at your fingertips there and you blew it. So, we're going to sell off all our assets and fire the coaching staff. It's just not how this organization operates. And I don't think they're really in a position to do a full teardown anyways, just because of their financial commitments to players. It's not like they can just release players with no financial penalties,
Sure.
So they've got a difficult situation to navigate, whether they win and make the playoffs or whether they lose and they have like the number 12 draft pick. I don't think this is going to change that or their approach to things.
As we sit here today, you think that the vast majority of this coaching staff is back next year?
I wouldn't say vast majority. I mean, I think there's going to be changes on the offensive side of the ball. I think there has to be. Look, Dennis Allen, I think, is going to be back next year. I don't think there's any question about that. But, I think the guy's got to be on kind of thin ice here, right? And I think they've got to change some things about how they operate if he's going to get a chance to come back for a fourth season. And frankly, their offense has to be a lot better. I mean, we've been saying this for years now, and they've found a little bit of a rhythm here lately, but they've done it against some kind of bad teams. They haven't done it against really good teams yet. So I would expect some changes on the offensive side of the ball, and and defense is a little bit more tricky. I think that really the changes we'll see there are more personnel related.
All right, Luke, enjoy the football on Sunday. We'll talk next week.
Sounds good, man. See ya.
He's Luke Johnson, Saints reporter for The Advocate. You can check him out on Twitter @ByLukeJohnson. Always does an awesome job with the Saints. He said it. He said Dennis Allen will be back. He didn't think there's any question about it. I think there's a question about it. There has to be a question about it, in my opinion. I would move on, and we've already know that. I reject. Well, I want to reject the notion that there's just no question he's got to be back. I get the fact that the Saints aren't in a position to snap their fingers and overhaul this thing. There's a lot of big financial commitments that just aren't able to be changed. But I'm curious. We'll see. They need to win. He needs to win on Sunday. I don't think it boils down to 1 hour, but it makes that decision a lot easier and cleaner if it is another losing record and you lose at home to a bad Atlanta team that seems lost at this point. But we'll talk about these Atlanta Falcons coming back after this timeout with Michael Rothstein. He covers the Falcons for ESPN. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric, certified Generac generator dealer, premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide in terms of Generac generator distribution. When they install that Generac generator at your home, you can guarantee that they're going to use the finest copper and the best tubing and piping, and they're going to also have someone come out there and install it in a way that is aesthetically pleasing. They're going to do most of the work underground, not just going to be some big eyesore next to your home that you take a lot of pride in. And it protects you from your power outages. Storm season will roll back around, and when the summer comes around, you've got those storms. I've told the story all the time about when I sat down to watch LSU and Tennessee in Game 1 of the College World Series and my power went out. That was not a super comfortable thing. You can avoid that with a Generac generator. Say, Hunt, why don't you? Well, we're about to move. We're going to figure that out when we move. Thanks to the folks over at Boudreaux's Electric. Give them a call, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. That is Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthier. My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed.
Time for myself.
We found our why.
Have you found yours?
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after.
Join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. Bruce Marshall's with us, Troy Macker's with us, and we're getting ready for the final weekend in the NFL regular season. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, we just got the 411 from the New Orleans Saints from Luke Johnson. Now let's turn our attention to the other sideline. That, of course, is the Atlanta Falcons, who will visit New Orleans on Sunday. Mike Rothstein will be with them, covers them for ESPN, and joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Mike, thanks so much for the time. Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. I finished the interview with Luke Johnson asking him about how big this game is for Dennis Allen, and he gave me his thoughts there. For you, how big is this game for Arthur Smith?
I mean, it's a pretty big game. Let's be real, right? Like you win this game, you can theoretically show improvement because your record will be 8-9. You have an outside chance if Carolina faces bad Tampa Bay versus good Tampa Bay of even winning the division and hosting a playoff game. This franchise has never hosted a playoff game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So, and then, on top of that, you're talking about the futures of the head coach and other members of the coaching staff that could be up for, that is at least in question at the moment. There's a whole bunch of that that's on the line now. What that looks like, I'm guessing we'll have a better idea come around 3:30, 4:30. Whether Eastern or Central Time on Sunday.
I would describe the Falcons' quarterback situation as chaotic from afar this year. How would you describe the last 17 weeks at quarterback for Atlanta?
It's time is a flat circle. I mean, it's been a lot of this, that, then the other, over and over again. They start the season with Desmond Ridder. They feel really good about him. Desmond Ridder shows flashes of playing really good football. And then bad turnovers and inopportune fumbles and just awfulness all around at times. But it was very inconsistent, which is really the theme of this season for the Falcons. They go to Taylor Heineke. Taylor Heineke, also inconsistent, but fewer turnovers, at least the first go-around. And then they go back to Desmond Ridder after the bye because they lose both games. They were hoping that maybe that would give Desmond Ridder a chance to kind of get a different vantage point. Plays pretty well against the Saints coming off of the bye. And then, more fumble, kind of some more fumbling issues a little bit. And then he throws that interception to Carolina. They fumbled too, even though they didn't lose either one of those fumbles in that game as well, and then they go back to Taylor Heineke because they believe at that point that's the quarterback gives them the best chance to win games, and he's 1-1 right now, including a pretty rough outing for their entire team against Chicago last weekend, which leads them to here. In any other division, this would be a complete playing out the string scenario, except that, in this division, every team is under 500.
That's exactly right. I think the last 2 weeks kind of a good microcosm of what's going on with Atlanta and New Orleans and Tampa Bay for that matter. But solid effort against the Colts in a 29-10 win at home, and you travel up to Chicago, which is not a very fun place to go in December and January, and give up 37 points to the Bears and lose. What's the disconnect? What's the difference in those two outings?
Oh man, a lot. I mean, you just never know which Falcons team is going to show up. And I mean that because and I've asked players and coaches about this, and the weeks of practice are consistent, but on Sunday you just don't know what team you're going to see. You're going to see the team that can roll, that can put up 400 yards of offense, that can really move the ball quite well, the defense that doesn't give up a touchdown, which has happened before, including against the Saints in early December, as you can hear practice going on behind me. And then you have other weeks where it's, hey, the offense can't stay on the field. The defense gives up big play after big play. They give up bad game-losing drives over and over, which we've seen in losses to Minnesota, to Arizona, to Carolina. And you just don't know. They are the most consistent thing they are this year is inconsistent. Like, that's the easiest way to put it.
You could just slap that tag on 3 of the 4 teams in the division. Quite frankly, we watch the Saints a little more closely here, but it's the same deal with them. One of the things the Falcons did do consistently against New Orleans back in Atlanta was run the football. 41 carries for 228 yards. Got Bijan Robinson involved, got Tyler Algier involved, Cordell Patterson, Desmond Ridder chipped in as well. Is that job one for Atlanta, run the football?
Well, it has been the last 2 years.
Yeah.
When they played them. They've run for over 200 yards in the last 3 games against the Saints. So basically entire Dennis Allen tenure and most of Arthur Smith's tenure, certainly with like kind of this core, because his first year was a real different core offensively. And that's really what they try to do. They want to run the ball. They have 2 dynamic running backs in Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Bijan may get a lot of the attention, right, in terms of like nationally and publicly, but Tyler Algier is a good runner. He's more of a between the tackles guy. But listen, he took a screen 75 yards. He was tired towards the end of that screen, but he took a screen 75 yards last week, which was really the only high point you can argue in the Atlanta offense against the Bears. So there's a whole bunch there that you see, and their run game, their running backs has been the strength of this team this year. And frankly, if they did not have that level of strength, we're probably talking about a team that is much worse off than they are right now.
Mike Rothstein covers the Atlanta Falcons for ESPN, joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Assuming that Carolina can't beat Tampa Bay, these 2 teams are not going to make the playoffs. We've talked about the Saints side of it, but what does your gut tell you about the short-term and long-term future in Atlanta, both at quarterback and at head coach?
Well, I imagine they're going to bring in another quarterback next year, whether that's to compete with Taylor Heineke and or Desmond Ridder, both of whom are still under contract for next year. Ritter's on a rookie deal. Heineke would have a reasonably large cap number, but for a backup quarterback, but a very small one for a starter. But I would imagine that no matter who is coaching this team, they're going to bring in a quarterback. Whether that's a veteran or a rookie, that would remain to be seen. And, yeah, I mean, in terms of Arthur Smith, I honestly do not know. People have asked me that. That's obviously the most popular question these days, and I do not know the answer to that. I covered the Lions before I covered Atlanta, so I've covered a lot of these types of scenarios, and usually by now I have a pretty good sense, and I just don't have a good sense one way or the other of what they're going to do, and it's an interesting question to say the least.
Just out of curiosity, what do you think Detroit's going to be like for playoff time? I can't imagine the excitement that's got to be up there after what they've gone through for decades.
Ford Field?
Yeah.
Bring your earplugs. I don't care where you're sitting, bring your earplugs, bring those noise-canceling headphones, you'll still be able to hear it. You got to understand, when that franchise was bad, which was the majority of the time I covered them, they still almost sold out. I was there in week 3 when the Falcons played up there, and this team is good this year, meaning Detroit. You could feel the sound, and the press box is up pretty high. Ford Field is going to be electric. Now, if it were to be today, they would be facing the Los Angeles Rams, quarterbacked by Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
If that happens, that's going to be the story. I don't care about any other team in the playoffs. If that game happens, that will be the storyline of the wild card weekend. Without question, that will be the storyline of the wild card weekend, and it will be a heck of a game too. I think it might be the game of the weekend as well.
We'll see the Saints and the Falcons, and what'll be the game of the weekend down here in South Louisiana. Mike, we appreciate some time. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Take care.
Mike Rothstein covers the Falcons for ESPN. I don't have a dog in the hunt in the NFC North, and certainly don't care about the Detroit Lions. But for that fan base to go through that for that long, just awful, awful, awful stuff year after year, and never reaching any heights whatsoever. For them to get a home playoff game where they think they're good, it's just cool as a sports fan. I'll be interested to see that. But with Saints have business to take care of first with Atlanta on Sunday. Interesting spot for both of these teams. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile.
It's this Sunday as we bring you 3 different NFL games. We start with the noon kickoff, the Vikings and Lions. Immediately following that, it's Bears and Packers. And then the night game, the Bills at Dolphins. Tune in this Sunday to hear all 3 of those games here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Reminder to download the Rouse's app. It makes grocery shopping so easy. I actually like going to the grocery store. I especially like going to Rouse's because it's clean. They got a great selection. I just enjoy kind of browsing, seeing what I might want to get. But realize that we don't always have tons of time. If you're just crunched for time and you need to make things happen quickly, Rouse's can help you with that. Download the Rouse's app, do your shopping right there on the app. Get your personal shopper to go in there, do all your shopping, set the pickup time. As long as you spend $35, which doesn't take very long, they'll come out with that order and you will not pay an extra cent. You just drive up, they hand it to you, you're gone. That's grocery shopping made pretty easy. So download that Rouse's app and get by Rouse's, do your weekend grocery shopping today or tomorrow when T-Bob is out there at the remote on Burbank and Lee. The New Orleans Pelicans last night got another win. They've won 4 in a row. They've won 9 of 12, and I would submit maybe the best win of the year last night when you consider the opponent, Minnesota, the fact that it was on the road, and that it was a back-to-back with a cross-country flight. And as I'm looking at the game, I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe as you look at the box score, you wouldn't be able to tell. The fact that the Pelicans so convincingly took care of Brooklyn the night before that B.I. and Zion got to play sub 30 minutes. Then you fly across the country and you go out there to play the best team in the conference, and those two guys were fantastic. Zion, 11 of 15 from the floor. He goes for 27 points. He was plus 20 on the night. B.I., his usual scoring ways, he goes for 19 on 7 of 11 shooting, just really high percentage stuff from those two. C.J. banged home 4 of 6 threes. I thought a couple really good jump shots from Alvarado from the three-point line coming off the bench. And the Pelicans really controlled it after a spurt in the second quarter where they just took control of the game. And you're starting to see them look like, I think, the team we thought they could be. And the thought was last year, well, they were never healthy. They've never been healthy. They never had their guys. They're running it back. And then they started off this year, and it was a little bit clunky. And you're like, well, I'm looking at this, and it's a good collection of talent, but does it work? You got to have a symphony that plays, and it did some nights, and then other nights it looked terrible. And you've gagged some late leads. The Memphis games are brutal to look back on at this point, but at this point, you look up and you're into the new year, and the Pels are 21-14, and they've actually got a winning record away from the blender at 9-7. And so I think they're playing well. I think there's reason for optimism. I think we got out a little bit over our skis last year, myself included, when you're looking at this in December and going, I mean, is this the 1 seed? Is this a team that can contend for a title? Well, no. And then they got hurt, and then they played poorly, and we know how that ended. And I don't think anybody is talking about that at this point, but I've got a group text of my buddies who are big Pels guys, and they're going, I think it's reasonable to expect this team to play at this level most of the year to secure a reasonable seed and to see what you can do. You could win a couple of rounds if you play really good basketball. It's going to be hard, and you'll be an underdog probably in a second or third, depending on what the play-in or where your seeding may be and home court advantage. But, I think there's a healthy amount of optimism around this team right now. Mario, I'll bring you in. I know you got a new edition of the podcast up today. Do you agree best win of the year?
Yeah, I think so, especially given the fact it was coming off of a back-to-back. Just some really impressive stats. That was only Minnesota's second loss at home all season.
Yeah, 14-2.
Yeah, and they were at full strength with Towns and Gobert and Anthony Edwards. And I think you make a good point about kind of the core players, because we know the role players are really good, but they're role players at the end of the day, right? But you see Zion and B.I. finally getting some continuity. Herb Jones is starting to spread the floor. His jump shot's coming a long way, which when you combine that with his defense, that makes him a very dangerous player. And C.J. McCollum deserves a lot of credit, I think. He's doing a really good job playing off of the ball. Last season, he got the Pelicans in a lot of trouble with dribbling a little bit too much, but he's doing a really good job of picking his spots. Guys are seeing him in their sight lines, and he's knocking down a lot of shots. So everybody in that starting five, I think, is kind of starting to find their way, and they're playing kind of like a team now, not just a collection of talented individuals.
With CJ, I see comps with him in terms of what he means to that team and his general attitude day to day with their DeMario Davises or Cam Jordans. Maybe not the best player, although DeMario Davis is an All-Pro, but Breeze is on those teams. But a guy that wants to be there, loves the city, wants to play, plays hard, and way more often than not plays really well. He's never going to be the headliner as long as Zion and B.I. are out there. But I like his energy and what he's brought to the franchise.
Yeah, I think you could say the same about Valanciunas, somebody whose minutes have really fluctuated, but he's been a total pro. But if you think of all the teams he's been on, they've always been winning teams, whether it was with Toronto, with Memphis, and now with the Pelicans. He's very durable, which on this team is very valuable, and I think he's really played into that leadership role the same way CJ has.
What's your concern right now with them? They're playing well, so it's a reasonable time to step back and not overreact to something that happened. What's your concern with the team right now?
saw them, number one, just that they're peaking a little bit too early, kind of like what happened last year. And number two, I think Willie Green kind of getting in his own head and overthinking the rotation a little bit. Like right now, guys like Najee Marshall, Dyson Daniels are playing really well, but I feel like eventually you might have to prioritize offense a little bit. And even when Trey Murphy was playing, he wasn't really getting the heavy minutes that I expected him to. So I'd like to see him on the court, and I'm patient with Hawkins because I know he's a rookie, but you saw him in UConn and saw how good of a shooter he can be. Eventually, if he hits that ceiling, that could be a very dangerous player when you combine that with the core the Pelicans already have.
Shooting is a must, so I like the fact that they're continuing to grab some of that out of the draft every single year. All right, that's our look at the Pelicans for today. Missed any of the first hour? Catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We always appreciate that. I opened the show talking about the storylines in LSU football land. Major Burns returning. Blake Baker is a reported name. Some Twitter musings from players after yesterday's changes. Luke Johnson was with us at 1:15. You can find that at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Michael Rothstein covers the Falcons. He was with us as well, so we tackled that for 30 minutes of the first hour. When we come back, let's have a little fun. Some bold predictions for LSU athletics in 2024. That's after SportsCenter on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports Warriors forward Draymond Green is expected to come back to the team facility in the coming days, hoping to get ready to play again. Green has been on an indefinite suspension for 3 weeks after taking a swing at Suns center Yusuf Nurkic. Browns quarterback Joe Flacco will sit out Sunday's regular season finale against the Bengals, but ESPN's Sal Palantonio says if Flacco then takes this team to the Super Bowl, he's a Hall of Famer.
If Joe Flacco wins 2 Super Bowls, he was the MVP of 1. Look at the number of road playoff victories for Joe Flacco. I do believe Tom Brady is the only one who has more.
Sal Pal on Unsportsmanlike. Flacco has 8 road wins. Brady has 11. Wednesday's fire at the home of Dolphins wideout Tyreek Hill was started by a child playing with a cigarette lighter. Some family members were home when the fire broke out, but there were no injuries. Alabama linebacker Chris Braswell will enter the NFL draft. He was second on the team this year with 8 sacks.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ Chris Candy coming up Friday. I'll tell you if we've seen the last of the Chiefs dynasty as currently constructed. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, working towards the weekend. Hope your work week has been a good one. First one of 2024. Chris Blair is going to join us in 15 minutes. We'll talk ReliaQuest Bowl win. We will talk LSU defensive reconstruction, and we'll talk a little basketball as well as the Tigers head to College Station on Saturday to start SEC play. I mentioned this is the first week of 2024, and I figured we'd have a little fun. I'm going to throw some very bold, some fairly bold predictions out for 2024 in LSU athletics, and we'll go through them chronologically as they would happen. And the first one I want to go to is I think the LSU women are going to win the national championship again. They're ranked 7th in the country, and that's because they lost the first game of the season to Colorado. They have not lost since. I realize Samaya Smith's out with a knee injury. I realize Kateri Poole no longer with the team. But you're still talking about a team with Haley Van Lith, who is, when she comes back from injury, who is an explosive scoring guard. Anissa Morrow has been fantastic. She's a double-double machine. You still got Angel Reese, and you're getting the progression of Michaela Williams, who's going to blossom into a star. And you've got a phenomenal coach, and I don't see one of these juggernauts in front of them. South Carolina's got a really good team. UCLA's got a really good team. But nobody looks like South Carolina did last year. I don't see some, like, Brittany Griner-esque force out there that you just don't want any part of. There's some good teams, but LSU's got a really good team. They're preseason number 1, and they lost 1 game 2 months ago. And now everyone's like, oh, Van Lit's hurt. They kind of forgotten about him. I haven't. I think they're going to win it. So give me the Lady Tigers to win back-to-back national titles. This one is a little more bold than that, I think. You're starting to see some mock drafts. You're starting to see some odds. I'll say Jaden Daniels' first pick in the draft. We saw Baker Mayfield have a little bit of a rise like this. Now, the quarterbacks in his class weren't thought of as highly. It was Josh Rosen. It was, I'm blanking on the other one, but there wasn't an Andrew Luck type guy in that class that Baker somehow leapt over. But I think as professional scouts start to look more deeply into Jaden Daniels, you'll see the best athlete at quarterback in the draft. Drake May is an awesome athlete, by the way, but Jaden Daniels is faster and a better athlete. Caleb Williams is got those Mahomes sidearm abilities, and he's a good athlete, but he's not as good as Jaden Daniels. You look at the production, which this year for Jaden was better than any of them. And I think while he can run like crazy, his passing this year from the pocket, on the run, decision-making, accuracy, touch, deep ball, screen, like he did everything that you would want. And so while Caleb Williams, it feels like, is taking on a little bit of gravity here, and I don't know that Drake May is right there for the first pick, and we don't even know who's going to make the first pick, whether it's going to be the Bears or whether they trade out of it. But with the obvious comp to Jaden Daniels at an NFL level as Lamar Jackson in terms of style of play, and you see what he's doing in the league right now, I don't think it's out of the question. I had a couple of buddies throw some bucks at that late in the season as the number one pick, and they got some good odds on it. I don't think it's out of the question. I think on Labor Day, it was a foregone conclusion that Caleb Williams was the guy, and maybe he will be. But there was enough over that 5-month period to start to have some discussion about it. And I think Jaden Daniels might be the first pick in the draft. That's my prediction. We'll stick to it. This one is going to be off 98, 99% of your radars. And that's okay. But while Jaden Daniels is winning the Heisman and Angel Reese is a megastar, so is Livy Dunn, while Paul Skeens is the number one pick in the draft and Dylan Cruz is the Golden Spikes winner, well, all that's very true. LSU also has the number one women's amateur golfer in the world on campus. Ingrid Lindblad has been the SEC Player of the Year the last 2 years, and I think she's going to win it again because she's the best amateur player in the world. 3-time Southeastern Conference Player of the Year. I don't care what sport it is. That's awesome. And Ingrid's been in the top 3 in the Augusta Women's Amateur twice. And I don't know if she'll play in that again or turn professional. But we'll see. And I think that she's going to win her 3rd straight SEC Player of the Year, and she's going to have a long, long career in women's professional golf. She's a star. It's just a low-profile sport over there. What's not a low-profile sport here is gymnastics. I think when the dust settles around Easter time this year, that Haley Bryant will go down as the greatest LSU women's gymnast of all time. You could suggest that she's already that, but she's come back for her final year, and when she's been healthy, she's been out of this world good. And some of the statistics, even though I'm not a big gymnastics follower, like some of the statistics in her biography are crazy. Like her all-around average was the highest in the history of the program. She's been named the Central Region Gymnast of the Year twice. She competed in the all-around in every meet this year and became the first LSU gymnast to average 9.9 across all her events for the entire season. Like, again, I'm not professing to be like an expert on gymnastics. I can read that. When you do, this program's been pretty good at gymnastics for the last decade. They're in the they're nationally relevant every year. She's doing stuff no one's ever done. She's got one more year to do it. I think she goes down as the greatest in the history of the program, which is really, really cool. Switching over to baseball, which would be next in the draft. I don't have any predictions today for this season. We'll probably save that for the second week in February. But I'll tell you this. I think LSU will have 3 first-round selections in the Major League Draft in, I guess it's July now? Yeah. 3 first-rounders in July. Tommy White is a near lock. He's in the top 10 in most drafts you see. Thatcher Hurd, with one more really good year, will lock himself into that position. I think those 2 guys are far more likely to be first-round picks than not. Then you've got 4 different guys, I think, for 2 spots. Luke Holman could work his way into the first round. Big, tall right-hander, mid-90s fastball. Headed up Alabama's rotation last year, now moves to LSU, where I think he's solidly your number 2. The tools are there to be a first-round pick if he has a really good season. It's got to be better than the year he had last year, which is pretty good. But it's got to be better than that. he could be in. Gage Jump, coming off injury, lefty, uber talented, was the number one left-handed pitcher in the state of California coming out of high school. Goes to UCLA, gets hurt, didn't pitch last year. He's healthy, looked very, very good in the fall. He's got every opportunity to be a first-rounder. When you're a lefty that can hum it up there 94, 95, if he can prove himself in the Southeastern Conference, that could absolutely be a first-rounder. And then you got the two high-ceiling guys that were on the team last year that will be thrust into much bigger roles this year. They're nowhere near a first-round pick today, but it can change in a hurry. And that's Paxton Kling and Jared Jones. There is no tool that Paxton Kling does not possess. He runs, he can play defense, he can throw, he can hit for power. He's got all of it. But he's got to have a monster year. And you'll hear me say this a bunch over the next 6 weeks before they start. If LSU's going to go where they want to go, it's going to start with the pitching staff, but it's going to have to finish with these sophomores now reaching their potential. That's Kling, that's Jones, that's Brady Neal, that's Gavin Guidry as a pitcher. That's going to have to come along. And the last one is Jared Jones, because he possesses one of the most coveted skill sets in the sport. The most coveted is probably left-handed power pitching, but the most coveted offensive tool is power. And he's got it in spades. He's got to cut down on the strikeouts, and that starts with pitch recognition on the breaking ball. Once he learns to pick that up, know when he's swinging and when he's not, can get ahead in counts and then make guys come with fastballs, that's when he'll start turning them off the scoreboard. And he did so at a pretty good clip last year, but those two guys have the ceiling to be first-round picks. So I've got White and Hurd that I need, and to get to my third one, it's Holman, Jump, Kling, or Jones, just one more. Last year, of course, LSU, Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz, Ty Floyd found his way into to round one as well. And the last one is football season coming up. Might want to throw one of those in there chronologically. I think LSU is going to go undefeated on the road in league play next year. You look at that schedule. They go to South Carolina early. No Spencer Rattler. What does that look like for them? They go to Arkansas. That's a lame duck program, quite frankly. Sam Pittman's got 1 year left, and they're done. You go to College Station, year one under Mike Elko. They've had a lot of attrition on the roster. If there's some turnover there, what does that look like? I think LSU's got a chance to go there and win, and then you go to Florida. And quite frankly, I don't even know if Billy Napier will still be coaching at that point of the schedule. Things are a mess in Gainesville right now. You're running it back with Graham Mertz. Okay. That's my prediction. Undefeated on the road. South Carolina, Arkansas, A&M, and Florida. So, for the year 2024, my bold predictions with LSU sports: women's national champions repeating in basketball. Jaden Daniels, first pick in the draft. Ingrid Lindblad, third consecutive SEC player of the year. Haley Bryant, greatest gymnast in the history of LSU. She'll finish that way. Baseball, 3 first-round picks. And football, unbeaten on the road in Southeastern Conference play. If all that happens, it'll be a pretty good year. Good year to be here in Baton Rouge. Good year to be talking about it. Hopefully that all comes to fruition. But they got work to do to get there. It'll be fun. All right, Chris Blair works for LSU. He's the voice of the Tigers. He's going to join us coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Visit the website. You got pictures of their great work. You've got testimonials from satisfied customers. You've also got the ability to request that free consultation with David Duvall and his team. They've been doing this for 30 years. Request that free consultation. Have them come into your home. Say, hey, here's what we can do. They can do a full-scale bathroom renovation if that's what you want to do. Soup to nuts, David Duvall and his team do the whole thing. You don't call 4 contractors. You call 1. He deals with it. Modernize that bathroom. Stay in your home with that great interest rate, but have an aesthetically pleasing and more functional bathroom. Or maybe it's something simple. Tub-to-shower conversion. You don't ever use that tub. Not bathing babies like Hunt Palmer anymore. You'd like a glass walk-in shower. They take that tub out, put a glass walk-in shower. Good as new. Include that functionality, that aesthetic. It's all right there. But you won't know what they can do unless you go to OneBathAndClosets.com and request that free consultation. The website again, OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri.
Night, we bring you the College Football National Championship as the Washington Huskies face off against the Michigan Wolverines. Kickoff begins at 6:30, and we will have full coverage for you here. So tune in to catch the National Championship game here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Every Thursday, we chat with our guy, Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We do so now. Chris, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Beautiful day here in Baton Rouge.
How was Tampa?
It was nice. It was really nice. I mean, the weather obviously was great. It's if you're going to go play a bowl, I certainly would take, Tampa over Bowling Green, Ohio. So no complaints there. But 5.5, 6 days. It was good to get back to Baton Rouge. It was even better to come back with an LSU victory.
I think all eyes were on Garrett Nussmeier in the bowl game, obviously, and he delivered a great performance that had a storybook finish there with the 98-yard drive. What did you see in person from LSU's new quarterback?
Yeah, I thought he settled down as the game went along. I think early on there were a couple of plays to be made where he just overthrew the ball and had guys open, and you could just kind of anticipate, hey, he's had 17 games of action. This is the first start. For a couple of weeks now since Jaden made his decision, it's kind of been in his mind that this is your team, this is your offense. So I understood he was a little amped up to start the game, but I thought just settled in. And, to your point, when they needed to win the game late in the fourth quarter, and great job on special teams by Wisconsin, you suddenly start looking, with Jaden Daniels, 98 yards, you feel pretty good. There's a lot of unknown with Garrett Nussmeier, and he certainly gave you the answer. I thought he was poised. I thought he made better decisions as the game went along, and he made better throws. And it was an impressive drive that gave them the lead and eventually gave them the win. So I was happy for Garrett. And again, I thought because he played the entire game and you got to see the entire book for the first time really in his career, I thought he did good. I think there's a lot of optimism heading into the spring, as there's a lot of room for improvement that again, we've seen here at LSU that, you can make some improvement at quarterback from year to year.
Garrett was a pretty high-profile recruit who came in and was buried on the depth chart, and we've seen him a little bit, but not a lot. Hadn't been to the field, had an opportunity to leave and didn't. And I think the same kind of goes for Chris Hilton, who has been, not because he's been buried on the depth chart, although that's been very good, he also been hurt. And you saw the flashes, and especially that big 40-plus yarder to get LSU into scoring position in the fourth quarter. He's going to be, I think, asked to do a lot next year, and I thought it was great that he was a key part of the last drive.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're talking about a pretty good, talented receiver room. It'd be nice to have, 3, 4, 5 guys on every snap, especially with the talent LSU possesses, and it just wasn't the case. I mean, you have to ask yourself, when you're looking at this team in 2023, who are you benching? Are you putting in Chris Hilton for Brian Thomas? Are you putting in Chris Hilton for Malik Neighbors, Kyron Lacey? So I think that, again, kudos to a young man who said, this is going to be an opportunity for me. He was obviously in the mix in preparation and practice leading up to the bowl, knew he was going to get snaps, and as you said, I think made the most of it. And, again, a guy who can really stretch the field. I mean, he's just got afterburners to burn. And so I like, again, optimistically, and as I said to close the broadcast out, Hunt, from Tampa, I mean, excited about starting September 1st in Sin City against USC. But from now until that date, there's a lot of things that can happen. A lot of things happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So between the roster, between coaches, it's just going to be, we'll get through spring, see where we are. We'll get to fall camp, see where we are. And then September 1st, we'll see who's on the roster.
Yeah, that's about how things go in this day and age. Brian Kelly on our postgame show told Gordy Rush that, 10 wins is good, but that's not going to cut it moving forward. We gotta get into the playoff, and the playoff expands to 12 teams. I don't know that I've ever asked your opinion on that and how it changes the outlook down here in Baton Rouge with an expanded college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it this year, you come in 13th in that final college football playoff, so that means you would be one outside the window for next year. I think an argument can be made, and I think listening to Coach Kelly really towards the back end of the regular season and certainly leading up to the bowl game and after the bowl game, that the defense just wasn't up to par. You have a mediocre defense at times this season, and you may have been knocking on the door of the college football playoff with 4 teams. So, again, I think what he said after the game was 10 wins in back-to-back seasons gives us a foundation. But there's some things lacking that is keeping this program from taking it to where everybody expects it to be, and that is contending for SEC titles and national titles. And, a couple of days later, he makes some changes, wholesale changes on the defensive staff. So I think, again, as fans, we want things changed immediately. We get emotional about it. I think truly, as Brian told us throughout the season, there will be a time and place for evaluation. And at least when it comes to that time and place was yesterday.
Sure was. A lot of news being made yesterday. First Matt McMahon show last night from TJ Ribbs. LSU starts SEC play in College Station on Saturday. Good close to the pre-conference slate. A solid performance by LSU against an overmatched team, but I thought that the way they shot the ball and played was pretty encouraging.
Yeah, really the last 2 games for me, Hunt, were encouraging. And, again, I understand it prefaced the same way you do, which is, you're talking about Lamar and you're talking about Northwestern State. But when you really go back and break down the film and look at the numbers, and just used the eye test, the team played better.
Yeah.
They looked more together. There was more sharing of the basketball. You can look at the numbers and they will tell you that assists to made baskets over the last 3, really that second half of the Texas game where they made the valiant comeback effort. Those games, things are the way I think Coach McMahon wanted to see it early on. Now, I don't want to overemphasize the impact that Jalen Cook has had because he has room for improvement as well. But there's no question 43 points and 16 assists since he has, joined the team on the floor allows guys like Mike Williams to be the SEC Freshman of the Week because his offense is starting to come naturally. Carlos Stewart has had his best 2 games because I think some of that pressure of, okay, coaches put me in there. We don't have Jalen Cook. I got to run the point. I got to try to maybe look for a shot, or maybe I just don't think about offense and try to distribute. I think there was so much going through their heads that Jalen Cook has this calming presence where he can be the straw stirring the drink, and I can go get in position and run the plays that help me ultimately help this team. And I think that's the biggest difference over the last 2.5 games. And, that's why I'm optimistic that there's a chance to go play a Texas A&M team who is extremely talented. They have a calling card of offensive rebounding. Matt told me last night, go look at the stat line for Texas A&M's last game. They shot the ball horribly. They didn't protect the basketball all that well. They didn't get to the free throw line as much as they'd like to, but that offensive rebounding helped them win by 25 points. It's the oddest-looking stat line that you'll see. So there's going to be a challenge on Saturday night against Texas A&M, but I feel a whole lot better going into this game now than I would have 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago without Cook against that pressure defense and the way that Buzz's teams played with the ball handling that LSU had at that point would have been a disaster. But to your point, Cook has stabilized that. And it's just a lot easier to ask Mike Williams, hey, play off the ball. We're going to get you some wide open looks from three. And if you see an area to attack, please do it. Instead of, hey, get everything set up, run the entire show for this entire team, and get us into the front court. That's not what they're asking him to do. And to your point, it's freed everyone up. I would even overemphasize it. It's been that drastic a difference because of what he's done. And that's kind of what we knew when he was sitting out.
The funny thing is, Hunt, is that this team is one of the tops in the country in steals per possession. The problem was that for the majority of the season, at least the first 10-plus games, they made turnovers immediately after getting steals. They weren't really in sync running in transition. That all changes with Jalen Cook now. Again, if you can get the steals, which Jordan Wright's averaging, I think, 2.5 steals per game. He's one of the top in the SEC. All the guys have pretty active hands. Now you feel a little more comfortable that once you get the steal, you can make something happen on the other end. And goodness knows LSU can really benefit from some transition buckets where they're not having to play in a half-court set against conference opponents. So I think if the steals continue at that rate, and Jalen, again, can run the offense in transition, get to the center of the floor, let the other guys take the angles, I think you'll see an uptick in LSU offensively.
Going to be a late one in Reed Arena, 7:30 tip over there in College Station. You can catch the pregame at 7 o'clock over on Eagle 98.1, part of the LSU Sports Radio Network. It'll be Chris Blair and John Brady on the call. Chris joins us every single Thursday right here in this time slot. Chris, thanks for the time.
You got it, Hunt. Have a great weekend.
Sure will. He is Chris Blair, the voice. I didn't realize until I just looked it up that it was a night game like that. So that'll probably be a pretty bumping environment there in College Station. They haven't played as well as we thought they would. They had that run at the end 2 years ago. They were great last year. There's just no two ways to say it. In SEC play, to rattle off that record, I think they were 15-3 in SEC play last year. Then got beat in the first or second round of the tournament, and they returned almost everybody, including Wade Taylor, preseason conference player of the year. But they've had some hiccups against good teams. Their non-conference schedule is very good, but they haven't played to their standard to this point. Hopefully that doesn't start on Saturday against LSU. 7:30 tip over there in College Station. Some transfer portal news in the Southeastern Conference we want to get to, and a little anniversary we'll get to as well coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Situations.
Get Rain-X Rugged XL Premium Wiper Blades now at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Their extra large profile and premium features make Rugged XL blades the right choice for extreme weather driving and durability. Buy 2 Rain-X Rugged XL Premium Wiper Blades and save $12 plus get 2 times O Rewards points. Our professional parts people will even install them for free at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. LSU's got a whole bunch of football staff positions open. We'll have the latest, and Mike Triplett joins us to talk Saints. 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Rolling along here, 30 minutes to go on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Thanks to y'all in the Bayou Ford chat. If you want to throw us a like, we always appreciate that over on YouTube. Some transfer portal news in the Southeastern Conference of note today. A surprising move in Oxford, Mississippi, as Quinshon Judkins, first running back since Herschel Walker to go over 15 touchdowns in 2 consecutive seasons to start your college football career, moving on from Ole Miss. And when you see all the success that Ole Miss has had in the transfer portal, and you see what their collective is doing, and all the buzz and excitement around Ole Miss football, they're going to be a preseason top 5 team next year. Like, just get ready. For your star running back to bolt at the 11th hour is odd. Now, this era of college football is odd for those of us that have been following it for a couple of decades, for 3, 4, 5, 6 decades, because times are unprecedented. Like, this just didn't happen in a Big On time because you'd have to sit out a year. You'd lock it in and play for the school that you chose that's had a lot of success. It's not like Quinshon Judkins is taking a bunch of lumps at Ole Miss. Like, they finished last year with some bumps. They're an 11-win team this year. Beat Penn State in the bowl game. Preseason top 5. Quarterbacks coming back. Transfer portal loaded up. But Quinshon Judkins is an Alabama native, and I'll just toss it out there. Like, if he ends up at one of those schools in the state of Alabama, I'll suggest there was probably somebody that was really happy to have him and have him represent their company. Because it just seemed like such a great spot. And it wasn't like Quinshon Judkins jumped in the portal on December 16th. He waited till after the game was over, then 3 days later. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it caught me off guard. And I don't think this is a huge, massive blow to Ole Miss. They've got a lot of good players and a fantastic play caller, and they'll plug somebody else in there that can run the football. Like, they will. But this one was a little bit shocking for me to see Quinshon Judkins after just a phenomenal 2 years at Ole Miss, which, by the way, he was phenomenal as a freshman, had a really poor start, statistically speaking, as a sophomore, and then LSU comes to town and he goes nuts and then has a great rest of the season. So LSU was the cure to whatever ailed Quinshon Judkins, but he'll be likely moving on and out of Oxford, Mississippi. Incidentally, Lane Kiffin, who's always on Twitter when they get a recruit, he's doing fishing pictures, reeling them in, had a picture of a shark that had been caught and then he had captioned it "catch and release." So whatever, he's the only coach that does that. I can promise you that, and we'll see where Quinshon Judkins ends up. This next one was very, very obvious. I had never heard this player's name in my life. I probably have heard it because LSU played against him 2 years ago. I never heard the name before, but when he went in the transfer portal, I looked him up. His name's Nick Scourton. And a lot of people made a big deal out of this Purdue defensive end going to the portal, so I just looked up his bio. And then I saw where he's from. So on the bio, Big Ten sacks leader, double-digit sacks this past year, from Bryan, Texas. And I went, oh, that's bad news. For those that aren't aware, Bryan is the sister city of College Station, Texas. It's Bryan College Station. That's how it's referred. He grew up in the shadows of Kyle Field. He will be now joining Mike Elko's defense at Texas A&M. So the Big Ten sack leader headed to play at Texas A&M. So those are two pretty big moves there in the transfer portal today in the Southeastern Conference. I wanted to mention this. We do some anniversaries, and we're not going to do a bunch of sound effects and pull a bunch of audio because I've done this game multiple times. But as I have also said multiple times, when something awesome happens, I don't really get tired of talking about it. I don't get tired of talking about LSU's 2019 football season. The day you find me tired of talking about watching that LSU baseball team that we just watched in 2013, I will be 10 toes up in a box somewhere. Okay? I loved it. But none of those runs are ever going to be what the 2003 LSU football season was for me personally. Now, in 2007, I was a sophomore at LSU, living with your friends, going literally to every football game that year, home and away. That's a dream, to go to college and have your team win it. 2019, I'm getting to do the pre- and post-game show. I'm in the dome, in the press box, doing pre- and post-game, greatest team we've ever seen. Like, those are fantastic memories for me. But 03 was the first one. And that team won the national championship on January the 4th, 2004, 20 years ago today. And I'm confident, as I've said on multiple times, I did this for a Throwback Thursday. I think we did this last year, that most of you remember where you were when that one happened. I think there's a sizable portion of you that were in the dome that night. I think there's a sizable portion that were with loved ones, sons, brothers, dads, moms, uncles, cousins, that saw something that you thought you may never see. And now, every single August, you expect to see it. You expect LSU to put itself in position to do that. That was never the case when I was growing up. I could not believe that LSU, just 2 years into Nick Saban's tenure, was playing in the SEC championship game. You know that game that Florida and Alabama play in like every year? We're in that. And then they played in the Sugar Bowl against Illinois. Like, this is unbelievable. And then they beat Georgia in the BCS era in the SEC championship, and you're going, oh my God, we're going to play in the national championship game. And I'm a sophomore in high school, so I'm like, I mean, does LSU even deserve to play against Oklahoma? Like, or USC? Or, I mean, at this point, Florida, Tennessee, like, we're LSU. Like, sometimes we go to the Independence Bowl. We went to the Peach Bowl a couple years ago. That was sweet. And now we're in the national championship game. Think of how warped and different the perspective is now. And I'm thrilled that it is, because you've enjoyed 2 decades of incredible success. We've won a couple of Heisman trophies, 2 more national championships after that. So I'll never be able to go back and feel the way that I felt that month of December and that night with my dad inside the dome. That ship sailed. Now, if LSU ever gets to a Final Four and wins a couple of games in men's basketball, that'll be new to me. But I've been to Omaha to see a championship. I've been in the Dome to see LSU win a championship. I've seen the Cubs win the World Series. So, like, for me, there's only one horizon left. But at that point, when I was 15 years old, about to turn 16, like, I'll never be able to revisit that. Now you think about the fact that was 20 years ago. And me as a 35, soon to be 36-year-old guy, like, I don't say many things happened 20 years ago. Like, that's not something that comes out of my mouth all that often, because I wasn't around for a lot of stuff. But that's a special, special memory. I sent the tweet out this morning. It's Justin Vincent's run up the middle. Then LSU fumbles. Then Corey Webster's got the interception of Jason White. Then Skylar Green turns the corner. You had JV using the official as a screen to get into the end zone for a touchdown. Come out of halftime, Marcus Spears pick 6. And at that point, it's 21-7. You're going, oh my God, they're gonna do this? And they did. And it was an awesome, awesome night in the Dome. And I'm certain that many, many of you have some special memories of that night. Mario put the poll up on Twitter a little earlier. We'll get the results at the end of the show. What's your favorite national championship? And I'm confident that the vast majority will pick 2019. We'll see here in 12 minutes or so what the thought is. I don't think many people will put 2007, which, you know, hey, that was an awesome one too for me as a college student. 2003, while the ride wasn't as crazy as 2019 with the unbelievable performances we saw week in and week out and the Heisman Trophy that came with it, and going to the semifinal and scoring 100 touchdowns in the first half. There's something about the first time, and that was the first time for the vast majority of us. If there were a lot of people that were around for Billy Cannon and Justin Vincent, well, that's great. That's a great run for you too. But I wasn't. So that was the first one, and it was certainly awesome. 20 years ago today in the Nokia Sugar Bowl. Nokia, shout out. LSU beats Oklahoma for its second national championship in school history and first one in nearly 50 years. All right, that's one more order of business. All we got to do is play some Take It or Leave It, and we'll get on down the road. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Countryside, I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Where can you find a reliable roofing contractor you can trust? Top Team Roofing and Construction. They know the secret to getting homeowners what they deserve from insurance companies. Call Jessica today, 571-1740. That's 571-1740. Online at thelatopteam.com.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
121-12674. Offices in Baton Rouge. After further review with Matt Moscona. Weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Handgriff, join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. Bruce Marshall's with us, Troy Macker's with us, and we're getting ready for the final weekend in the NFL regular season. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out Rouse's Supermarkets, bringing you our shows each and every Thursday. Check out Rouse's.com. You can get their weekly ads and see all the specials that they've got for you. They'll ask you to enter your zip code. They've got a Rouse's near you, especially if you're in South Louisiana. Got delivery and pickup. It's such a convenient way to shop, and the quality of their products is fantastic. If it's got the Rouse's label on it, you can trust that they've tasted it, they've certified it, and that it's very, very good. We spend a lot of Fridays out at the Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Love the folks over there. We just love Rouse's in general, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. If you're going to get grouped together to watch Saints and Falcons, pick up some Rouse's. Just do your grocery shopping for the weekend at Rouse's. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. Mario, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, keeping with the LSU coaching search here, the Tigers will have a defensive coordinator by Monday morning. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. The way that's not going to happen is if there's been enough conversation with Jesse Minter, which is total speculation on our part, and he's got to finish that game, and then there will be some dominoes with Harbaugh leaving and him moving on and all that. If it's not an NFL guy or Michigan's guy, then I think it gets done within the next 72 hours. I think that's reasonable. I think Brian Kelly has had this on his mind for a while, and I think he'll move rather quickly. We saw Blake Baker's name surface yesterday. Nothing has kind of come of that today. So we'll see, but I think they'll have it done by Monday morning.
Next one, college football should play the national title game in the Rose Bowl every year. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I know Herb Street's all over this, and I've never been to the Rose Bowl, so I don't have firsthand experience. I know that there's not a lot of charm in Atlanta and Mercedes-Benz Stadium. NRG I have been to. There's not a ton of charm. That's where they'll be on Monday. But I do think that New Orleans is a fantastic host for a national championship. I think that that going to Miami is fantastic for a national championship. I know the stadium is a little out of the way, but that's a great place to visit, especially in January. And I think there are other places that can host it. I do appreciate the Rose Bowl, and this applies to such a minute percentage of the people. But for those that go, like, the Rose Bowl is really hard to get to. The traffic's terrible. There's not much around it. Like, in terms of, like, I'd much rather go hang out in the French Quarter and go to New Orleans to go to the Superdome and watch my team play, as opposed to, like, wade in traffic out there in the Rose Bowl and then sit. But again, 99.99999 people are watching on TV, so that's the beauty of that, and it looks great on television. I'm not married to that. Like, I would freak out if they moved the College World Series outside of Omaha. But as far as them having to play the national championship, the Rose Bowl, I think there are other places that can host a national championship game.
Well said. Rose Bowl seems awesome. I've also never been, but having it there every year is obnoxious. I agree. Moving on to some baseball here. Throwback to the early line days. The Braves have added Chris Sale. After 8 years of 147-plus innings pitched, he's thrown 149 over the last 3 years. Sale can help in 2024. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I mean, he's not going to be the Cy Young, most dominant lefty in the game, Chris Sale, but he can help. He can get you some outs. They've got guys in the front of that rotation. They were the best team in baseball last year. I don't know if the Dodgers probably overtaken them this year in terms of talent. But Sale can help. I think it's worth it. Plus, the Red Sox are eating a bunch of that salary, so the Braves are getting him pretty cheap for a 2-year deal. So I think it's certainly worth a shot. By the way, Chicago Cubs, only team in all of Major League Baseball who have not traded for nor signed a big league free agent this year. It's January. Jed, wake up, please.
Shout out Hester. I know he's probably picking up what you were throwing down with the Braves there. The 2024 PGA Tour season gets underway today. Kapalua is a bucket list course for you. Hope I said that right.
Kapalua?
Kapalua. There we go. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I've talked about this every year that I've been on the show as well. All of us have, like, the niche thing that we really like in sports, whether you're an MMA fan, I'm a golf fan. College baseball is even niche. There's horse racing, so is some people's deal. Like, everybody's got their niche thing. I'm a golf guy. And 2 of the weeks that I look forward to every year are the first and second weeks of January because they play in Hawaii and they tee off. The coverage starts our time at 5 or 6 o'clock and goes until like 9 o'clock at night. It's the only time you get primetime golf all year. So I'll be locked in tonight, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday to Kapalua. And yes, it is a bucket list course for me. Of the courses I can play with a credit card, like Augusta, not letting me in with a credit card. Pine Valley, not with a credit card. A lot of the ones in Scotland will, but the courses that I can actually get on, Kapalua is right up there. St. Andrews is going to take the cake on that first. And Kapalua maybe Carnoustie. And then Kapalua might be right up there. Like, I don't know if and when I'll ever get out to Hawaii, but if that trip does happen over the course of my life, we'll make a trip to Kapalua because it is, for those that don't even care about golf, if you just flip over to Golf Channel tonight at like 8 o'clock, just the fact that it's 42 degrees outside where you are and you've got this unbelievable scenery with this massive golf course, it's great. It's great for the soul at a cold time of year.
Sweet. Hope you get to experience that.
I do.
Barstool Sports Jersey Jerry vowed to stay in the office until he made a hole-in-one on the golf simulator. It took him 2,627 shots and 37 hours to make an ace. Jerry may not get his PGA Tour card this year. Take it or leave it.
Well, I will take that. I did watch like 2 different 10-minute intervals of this last night. He had not slept literally in like 30 hours, and he was so tired. He's already terrible at golf. He was hitting 85-yard shots in the simulator. He was never hitting the green. Like, he was shanking it left and right, like not even close. He was getting frustrated. He said he should have kept his job as a steel plant employee. Like, he was down real bad, and they made him go to sleep. They had a guy read him a book and made him go to sleep. They restarted the stream this morning, and he finally made one after 2,627 shots. It was amazing entertainment. They raised a ton of money. They were getting a ton of super chats, and they got ridiculous amounts of clicks, and now they're selling shirts for it. Barstool can make money out of anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Shout out to that guy.
Yeah. All right, Twitter poll results. What do we got? We had favorite national championship as an LSU Tiger.
Yes, so it looks like 2019 dominated this poll with 85.5% of the votes. Then 2003 got 10.7% of the votes. And 2007, surprisingly, at least for me, came in last with 3.8% of the votes.
2 losses. It just hurts but the story was wild when you consider like the day and the last press conference and that whole deal. Like that was maybe the most dramatic one, quite frankly. But they found a way to get it done. But they were all very special. I like all my kids equally. And those are your kids. All right, let's close up shop here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on Google, wherever you find your sound or your video. You can find us at the Hunt Palmer Show. Open things up talking LSU football. Luke Johnson on the Saints, Michael Rothstein on the Falcons. You can catch both of those at Hunt on Saints as we get ready for Week 18 in the NFL. Pelicans playing pretty well. We talked about that at the end of hour number 1. My bold prediction for all LSU sports in 2024. Heard that at the top of hour number 2. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, is with us as well. Appreciate Rouse's. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate Mario and Casey for hanging out with us. Matt's about to drive you home on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I'll be back tomorrow with a show presented by Corks. We'll talk to Preston Guy and get you ready for LSU and A&M on the hardwood. You've been listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, look what I found! The motivation I needed to live healthier. My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed. Time for myself. We found our why. Have you found yours?